The ship Soul's Pride cut through the darkness of space like a silver needle. Inside the vessel, 200 humans prepared for what they believed would be the most important moment in their species' history. They were wrong. It would be the most dangerous. Ambassador Dongwoo Kim stood at the observation deck, watching the twin suns of the Velthara system grow larger through the thick glass. He was a tall man with graying hair and kind eyes that had seen many difficult negotiations on Earth. But nothing had prepared him for what waited ahead on the frozen world below. "Sir, we will reach Velthara Prime in 6 hours," Captain Haejin Park announced as she entered the observation area. She was younger than the ambassador, with sharp features and the confident walk of someone who had served in Earth's military for 15 years. Her uniform was perfectly pressed, and her hand never moved far from the weapon at her side. Dongwoo nodded and turned to look at her. "Are you worried, Captain?" "Always, sir. It keeps me alive." Haejin moved to stand beside him at the window. "The Velthani have been sending us friendly messages for months, but something feels wrong. Their technology is far more advanced than ours. Why do they want to meet with humans so badly?" The ambassador had wondered the same thing many times during their long journey from Earth. The Velthani had contacted humanity through deep space radio signals 2 years ago. Their message was simple and welcoming. They wanted to meet Earth's representatives and discuss joining what they called the greater galactic community. Earth's leaders had been excited. Finally, humanity would take its place among the stars alongside other intelligent species. They had chosen their best diplomats, scientists, and military advisors for this historic mission. The Soul's Pride carried experts in every field from medicine to engineering. Dr. Mi-Young Lee was in the ship's laboratory, studying the few images the Velthani had sent of their world. She was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life forms, though until now she had only worked with theories and computer models. The pictures showed a beautiful world of ice and crystal, with massive structures that looked like palaces carved from frozen mountains. "The architecture is incredible," she said to her assistant, scientist Junho Nam. "Look at these ice formations. They seem to be both natural and artificial at the same time." Junho leaned over her shoulder to study the holographic display. "The Velthani themselves are fascinating too. According to their transmissions, they are tall crystalline beings who have lived for thousands of years." In another part of the ship, communications engineer Tai-Ho Choi was trying to establish better contact with the Velthani homeworld. He was a quiet man who understood machines better than people, but his skills with technology were unmatched. For the past 3 days, something had been bothering him about the alien communications. "The signal strength keeps changing," he muttered to himself, adjusting the complex array of equipment around him. "It should be getting stronger as we get closer, but sometimes it gets weaker for no reason." His colleague, engineer Bo-Ram Shin, looked up from the maintenance panel she was working on. "Maybe their equipment works differently than ours." Taeho shook his head. "No, I have studied their transmission patterns for months. This is something new, something they do not want us to notice." Meanwhile, in the medical bay, Dr. So Hee-jung was preparing her team for the unknown diseases and conditions they might face on an alien world. She was a careful woman who believed in being ready for any emergency. Her medical supplies included treatments for everything from frostbite to unknown alien toxins. "Remember, we know very little about Velthara Prime," she told her medical staff. "The planet is much colder than Earth. The Velthani say the temperature rarely goes above -20 degrees Celsius. Our cold weather gear should protect us, but we must be careful." Major Kyung-Soo Han was in the ship's security section, reviewing the mission protocols with his military team. He was a veteran soldier with scars on his hands from battles on Earth's colonies. Unlike the scientists and diplomats, he did not trust easily. "I want everyone to remember that this is supposed to be a peaceful mission," he told his soldiers. "But peaceful does not mean defenseless. Keep your weapons ready but hidden. The Velthani have agreed to let us bring personal protection, but they do not need to see it." His lieutenant, Yuna Nam, raised her hand. "Sir, what if this is not really a diplomatic meeting? What if they have other plans?" The major's expression darkened. "Then we protect our people and get them home alive. That is our job." As the Soul's Pride approached Velthara Prime, The crew gathered in the main viewing area to see their destination. The planet was beautiful and terrible at the same time. It was covered in white ice and snow, with massive crystal formations reaching toward the dark sky. The twin suns cast strange shadows across the surface, making the whole world look like a frozen jewel. "Welcome, friends from Earth," came a voice over the ship's communication system. The Velthani language sounded like music mixed with the sound of breaking glass. The ship's computers translated it into perfect Korean and English. Ambassador Dongwoo picked up the communication device. "Thank you for your welcome. We are honored to visit your world and meet your people." "The honor is ours, Ambassador Kim. We have prepared special accommodations for your visit. Please follow our guide ships to the landing area." Through the windows, the humans could see 3 Velthani vessels approaching. They were unlike any ships humans had built, looking more like flying sculptures made of ice and metal. They moved without any visible engines, gliding through space as smoothly as birds through air. Captain Hai-Jin felt her unease growing stronger. "Sir, those ships are much more advanced than anything in our reports. The Velthani told us their technology was only slightly ahead of ours." Dr. Mi-young was studying the approaching vessels with scientific interest, but her excitement was mixed with concern. "The energy signatures are incredible. These ships must be using power sources. We cannot even imagine." As they descended toward the planet's surface, the humans saw their destination. A massive complex of ice palaces built into the side of a mountain. The buildings were enormous, with towers reaching hundreds of meters into the sky. Lights glowed from within the ice walls, creating patterns of blue and white that were both beautiful and alien. The Soul's Pride landed on a platform that seemed to be carved from a single piece of ice. As the engines shut down, Ambassador Dongwoo gathered his team in the main meeting room. "Remember, we are representing all of humanity today," he told them. "Be respectful, be curious, but also be careful. We are guests here, but we are also strangers in a very strange land." The landing bay doors opened and cold air rushed into the ship. Even with their protective suits, the humans could feel the bitter cold of Velthara Prime. As they stepped onto the ice platform, tall figures approached them from the palace entrance. The Velthani were even more impressive in person than in their transmitted images. They stood nearly 3 meters tall, with bodies that seemed to be made of living crystal. Light moved through their transparent skin in patterns that were almost hypnotic. Their faces were angular and beautiful in an alien way, with eyes that glowed like blue stars. "Welcome to Velthara Prime," said the lead Velthani in that musical, glass-breaking voice. "I am High Crystallarch Vethemos. We have waited long to meet the humans of Earth." Ambassador Dongwoo stepped forward and bowed politely. "Thank you for your hospitality, High Crystallarch. We look forward to learning about your civilization and sharing knowledge of our own." As the humans were led toward the ice palace, none of them noticed the subtle signs that Captain Hai-Jin's military training had taught her to watch for. The Velthani guards were positioned not to honor guests but to prevent escape. The communication arrays on the palace towers were designed not just to send messages, but to block them. And in the highest tower of the ice palace, other Velthani were placing bets on how long the soft-skinned creatures from the small blue planet would survive what was to come. The trap was set. The hunt was about to begin. Ambassador Dongwoo Kim woke to the sound of screaming. The soft bed in the luxury quarters the Velthani had provided was gone. Instead, he found himself lying on hard ice in a massive circular arena surrounded by towering walls of frozen crystal. All around him, the other humans from the Soul's Pride were waking up in confusion and terror. Their warm diplomatic clothes had been replaced with thin gray coveralls that offered little protection against the bitter cold. The temperature was so low that their breath came out in thick, white clouds. "What is happening?" Dr. Mi-young Lee called out as she struggled to her feet. Ice crystals were already forming in her hair. "Where are we?" Captain Hai-Jin Park was already moving, checking on the other humans and trying to understand their situation. Her military training kicked in as she counted heads. "We have 198 people here. 2 are missing." The arena was enormous, easily 500 meters across. The walls rose up 50 meters high, made of the same crystal, ice that formed the Velthani palaces. But these walls were different. They pulsed with a cold blue light that hurt to look at directly. High above them, floating platforms held crowds of Velthani observers. The crystalline aliens sat in comfortable chairs, their glowing eyes focused on the humans below. Some were pointing and making sounds that the translation devices picked up as laughter. A booming voice echoed through the arena in the musical Velthani language. "Welcome, creatures of Earth, to the arena of eternal winter. You have been chosen to provide entertainment for the greatest civilization in this galaxy." Major Kyung-Soo Han pushed through the crowd of confused humans to stand beside Captain Hae-jin. "This is not a diplomatic mission," he said grimly. "This is a trap. We are prisoners," the voice continued. "Your soft species has amused us with your primitive technology and simple minds. Now you will amuse us in a different way. Survive in our arena for 7 days and we will grant you the mercy of quick death instead of slow experimentation." Ambassador Dongwu felt his heart sink as the terrible truth became clear. The Velthani had never wanted peace or friendship. They had lured humanity's best and brightest to this frozen world to watch them die for sport. "The rules are simple," the announcer continued. "Survive the cold, survive the creatures we will release, survive each other. The betting pools are now open across the Velthani Empire. Most wagers give you less than 2 days." As if summoned by those words, gates opened in the arena walls. Through the openings came creatures that made the humans step back in horror. They looked like giant wolves made of ice and shadow, with 6 legs, each ending in claws as long as kitchen knives. Their eyes glowed red like burning coals and frost formed wherever they breathed. "Frost claws," Dr. Mi-young whispered, recognizing them from the wildlife footage the Velthani had shared. "They are apex predators on this world. They hunt in packs and can sense body heat from kilometers away." The temperature in the arena dropped even further. Several of the older humans collapsed to their knees, their bodies already shutting down from the extreme cold. Dr. So-hee Jung rushed to help them, but she had no medical supplies and no way to warm them. Engineer Tae-ho Choi looked around desperately for anything they could use. The arena floor was mostly bare ice, but scattered around were pieces of metal debris and broken equipment. "Those look like parts from our ship," he said. "They destroyed the Soul's Pride and dumped the pieces here." Communications engineer Boram Shin picked up a twisted piece of metal that had once been part of their navigation system. "Maybe we can use some of these parts to make tools or weapons." The first Frost Claw attack came without warning. The pack of 6 creatures moved faster than anything that large should be able to move. They spread out and attacked from different directions, their claws leaving deep gouges in the ice as they ran. "Everyone get together!" Major Kyung-Soo shouted. "Form a circle back to back." But the humans were cold, confused, and terrified. Some ran toward the walls trying to escape, others froze in place. The frost claws reached the scattered groups and began their deadly work. The screaming started again. This time it did not stop quickly. By the time the creatures retreated to wait for their next attack, 12 humans lay dead on the bloody ice. The survivors huddled together in the center of the arena, shivering and staring at the bodies of their friends. Above them, the Velthani made sounds of approval and amusement. Some were already collecting their winnings from bets on which humans would die first. Dr. So-hee Jung knelt beside Engineer Min-ho Yu, who had been clawed across the chest but was still alive. "I need something to stop the bleeding," she said. "Cloth, anything." Captain Hae-jin tore strips from her own coveralls, even though it left her more exposed to the cold. "Use this. What else do you need?" "Heat," So-hee replied simply. "Without warmth, we will all be dead by morning. The wounded will die first, then the rest of us will follow." Major Kyung-soo was already organizing the survivors into work groups. "We need shelter, we need weapons, and we need a plan. The arena walls are too high and too smooth to climb. The gates are controlled from above. Our only choice is to survive long enough to find another way out." Dr. Mi-young was studying the frost claw bodies that had been left behind after the attack. These creatures are perfectly adapted to this environment. Their fur is incredibly thick and their blood seems to have natural antifreeze properties. If we can figure out how they stay warm. You want us to skin them? asked scientist Junho Nam, looking sick at the thought. I want us to live, Mi Young replied firmly. And right now, these dead creatures are the best source of insulation we have. As the artificial night fell over the arena and the temperature dropped even further, the humans began the grim work of survival. They used pieces of debris to cut fur from the dead frost claws, wrapping it around the wounded and the elderly. Engineer Tejo managed to connect several power cells from the ship, debris, and create a small heating element. It was not much, but it provided enough warmth to keep a few people from freezing to death. The Velthani watched from their comfortable floating platforms, taking pictures and making jokes about the humans' crude attempts at survival. They had seen many species in their arena over the centuries. None had lasted more than 4 days, but as the first night passed and dawn came to the frozen arena, something unexpected happened. The humans were still alive. All of them who had survived the first attack were still breathing, still moving, still fighting to live. High Crystallarch Vethamos leaned forward in his observation chair, his crystalline features showing the first hint of interest rather than mere amusement. Curious, he said to his aide. Most species lose half their numbers to despair alone on the first night. These creatures seem to be adapting. His aide, a younger Velthani named Kethril, checked the betting displays. The odds are shifting, my lord. Some observers are beginning to wager that the humans might survive a full day. Vethamos made a sound like breaking glass, which was Velthani laughter. Impossible. Look at them. They have no natural defenses, no adaptations for cold, no weapons, except what they can make from scraps. They are soft creatures from a warm world. But down in the arena, Major Kyung-soo was speaking quietly to his group of survivors as they huddled around Tai-ho's small heating device. They think we are weak, because we are not adapted to their world. They think we will break because we are not like them. He looked around at the faces of his fellow humans, diplomats, scientists, engineers, doctors, people who had never expected to fight for their lives. But in each face, he saw something that the Velthani had not counted on. He saw anger. They brought us here to watch us die, he continued. They want to see us suffer and fail for their entertainment, but they have made one mistake. They think that being different from them makes us weak. Captain Heijin nodded, understanding where he was going. Being human makes us strong in ways they do not understand. Exactly, the major said. We do not just adapt to survive, we adapt to win. And before this is over, these crystal monsters are going to learn what it means to make humans angry. As the second day began in the arena of eternal winter, the Velthani prepared to release fresh horrors on their human prisoners. But they did not know that they were no longer dealing with confused diplomats and frightened scientists. They were facing something much more dangerous, humans who had nothing left to lose. By the third day in the arena of eternal winter, death had become a constant companion to the surviving humans. The count was down to 147 people. The weak had died first, then the unlucky, then those who had given up hope. But something remarkable was happening to those who remained alive. They were changing. Dr. Jinwoo Kang knelt beside a pile of salvaged equipment, his hands working carefully despite the numbing cold. He was a materials scientist who had spent his career studying how different substances behaved under extreme conditions. Now he was putting that knowledge to deadly use. The Velthani ice contains trace metals, he explained to engineer Bo-Ram Shin as he mixed compounds in a broken helmet. When I combine it with the power cell acid and this polymer from our ship's hull, it creates an explosive reaction. Bo-Ram watched as the mixture began to bubble and smoke. How explosive? Explosive enough to kill Frostclaws, Jinwoo replied grimly. Maybe explosive enough for other things too. Across the arena, former Special Forces operative Yuna Nam was teaching a group of diplomats and scientists how to fight with improvised weapons. Her students included Ambassador Dong-Woo Kim, who had insisted on learning despite his age. The Frostclaws are fast, but they are predictable, she explained, demonstrating with a sharpened piece of metal debris. They always go for the throat first. If you can get your weapon up in time, you can hurt them before they hurt you. Dr. Mi Young Lee had made a disturbing discovery while studying the dead creatures. The frost claws are not just predators, she told Major Kyung-Soo Han. They are controlled. Look at these scars behind their ears. The Velthani have implanted devices to make them more aggressive. The Major studied the small metal implants she had removed from the creatures' skulls. So the aliens are not just watching us fight for survival. They are controlling how we die. Which means they can control when we die too, Captain Hai-Jin added. She had been thinking about their situation like a military problem. They want entertainment, not quick deaths. They will make the challenges harder slowly, to make the show last longer. Communications engineer Tae-ho Choi had been working on a different kind of problem. Using components from their destroyed ship, he had managed to build a scanning device that could map the arena's structure. What he found was surprising. There are tunnels, he reported to the leadership group. Natural caves under the arena floor. The Velthani built this place over an existing cave system. Engineer Sori Bay looked at his crude but functional scanner. Can we get down there? We would have to dig through the ice floor without the aliens noticing, Tae-ho replied, and we would need tools. I can make tools, Bo-Ram said confidently. Give me more time with the ship debris and Dr. Kang's explosive compounds. The breakthrough came when geologist Sang-min-oh made an incredible discovery. While helping to dig defensive positions in the ice, he found something that made his heart race. Rare earth minerals, he whispered to Dr. Jin-woo. The ice down here contains concentrated deposits of elements we barely have on Earth. If we can extract and process them, Jin-woo's eyes lit up with understanding. We can make explosives that make our current compounds look like firecrackers. More than that, Sang-min continued. These minerals, when heated correctly, produce energy reactions that could power equipment for weeks. Above them, the Velthani were becoming more interested in their human subjects. What had started as casual entertainment was turning into something more engaging. The betting pools had grown larger as more aliens wanted to wager on the strange resilience of the Earth creatures. High Crystallarch Vethamos studied the arena through his viewing crystal. They are not behaving like other species we have tested. Most aliens either go insane from fear or become savage and attack each other. These humans are doing neither. His aide Kethril adjusted the viewing angle to focus on a group of humans who were carefully rationing their food and water. They are cooperating more as conditions get worse, not less. This is unprecedented behavior. Increase the pressure, Vethamos ordered. Release more frost claws. Drop the temperature another 10 degrees. Add the acid mist generators. As the Yaotiyi fourth day began with new horrors, the humans faced challenges that should have broken them completely. The arena filled with toxic yellow fog that burned their lungs and skin. More frost claws poured through the gates, and the temperature dropped so low that exposed skin froze in seconds. But the humans were ready. Teams led by Yun-Ah-Nam attacked the Frostclaw packs with coordinated precision, using weapons that Bo-Ram Shin had crafted from ship debris and Jin-Woo Kang's explosive compounds. The creatures that had seemed unstoppable just days before now fell to human tactics and human-made weapons. When the acid mist filled the arena, Dr. So Hee-jung was ready with breathing filters made from frostclaw fur and organic compounds. The humans had learned to use every part of their environment for survival. Most importantly, they had begun their secret excavation project. Working in shifts during the artificial night periods, teams led by Tae-ho Choi and Sang-min-oh dug carefully into the arena floor. They used Bo-Ram's tools and Jin-Woo's explosive compounds to break through the ice without creating noise that would alert the Velthani guards. What they found in the caves below exceeded their wildest hopes. The tunnel system was vast, stretching far beyond the arena walls. More importantly, it contained mineral deposits so rich that Jin-Woo could barely believe the readings on his improvised testing equipment. This is enough explosive material to level a city, he whispered to Major Kyung-Soo as they stood in the largest cave chamber. The Velthani built their arena over the most dangerous natural bomb on their planet. The Major smiled for the first time since their capture. How long do you need to process it into something we can use? Give me 2 more days, Jin-Woo replied, and give me every person who knows anything about chemistry or engineering. As they prepared to return to the surface, Dr. Mi-young made another discovery that changed everything. Deep in the caves, She found markings on the walls that were not natural formations. These are carved symbols, she told Ambassador Dongwoo Kim. This cave system has been used before, by other species, other prisoners. The ambassador studied the alien writing with growing excitement. Can you translate any of it? Some of it matches linguistic patterns from our database, Mi Young replied. I think this says the arena power core is directly above this chamber, and this part here. Structural weak points marked in the stone. Captain Heijin understood immediately. Other prisoners have been here before, and they mapped out how to destroy this place. Did they ever try to escape? Asked Dr. Sohee. Mi Young pointed to a final set of symbols near the cave entrance. This says, we die free. May those who come after succeed where we failed. The humans stood in silence for a moment, thinking of the unknown aliens who had suffered and died in the arena before them. Then Major Kyung-soo spoke. They will not have died for nothing. We are going to finish what they started. On the 5th day, the Velthani audience noticed a change in their human entertainment. The creatures from Earth were no longer just surviving. They were thriving. They moved with purpose and coordination. They fought the Frostclaws with weapons that seemed to get more effective each day. They even seemed to be enjoying the combat. Crystallarch Vethamos was no longer amused, he was concerned. How many humans are still alive? He asked his aide. 139, my lord. We have not lost a single human in the past day and a half. That is impossible. Increase all threats to maximum levels. Release the greater Frostclaws. Activate the ice spear launchers. I want this farce ended immediately. But down in the arena, the humans were no longer the frightened diplomats and scientists who had been captured. They had been forged by desperation and shaped by anger into something the Velthani had never faced before. They had become an army, and that army was about to teach the galaxy what happened when you pushed humans too far. The explosion came at dawn on the 5th day, just as the Velthani were preparing to release their most deadly arena challenges yet. The blast erupted from 12 different points across the arena floor simultaneously, sending chunks of ice and crystal flying in every direction. From the smoking holes in the ground, humans emerged like creatures from a nightmare. They were no longer the soft diplomats and scientists who had been captured. Their faces were hard, their eyes were cold, and their hands held weapons that looked like they belonged in a war zone. Major Kyung-soo Han led the first team out of the central tunnel, carrying what looked like a rifle made from ship parts and alien minerals. Behind him came Captain Heijin Park with a squad of former civilians who now moved like trained soldiers. The weapons that engineer Boram Shin had created using Dr. Jin Woo Kang's explosive compounds worked better than anyone had hoped. The projectiles they fired could punch through Velthani crystal armor and explode on impact. The sound they made when fired was like thunder in the enclosed arena. The first Velthani casualties in 1,000 years fell from their floating observation platforms, their crystalline bodies shattered by human weapons. Blue blood mixed with human red on the arena floor as the battle began in earnest. High Crystallarch Vethamos gasped as he watched his people die. Impossible. Activate all defensive systems immediately. Energy weapons emerged from hidden panels in the arena walls, filling the air with deadly beams of light. But the humans were ready for this too. Communications engineer Tae-ho Choi had spent 2 days studying the arena's power systems from below. He knew exactly where to strike. Deep beneath the arena, Dr. Jin Woo Kang triggered the charges he had placed throughout the power conduit system. The explosions traveled through the walls like lightning, overloading circuits and destroying generators. Half the arena's defensive weapons went dark immediately. The other half began firing wildly as their targeting systems failed. Some beams struck the Velthani observation platforms, causing more alien casualties. Ambassador Dongwoo Kim emerged from another tunnel leading a team that included Dr. Mi-young Lee and several other scientists. But these scientists were not carrying research equipment. They were driving a vehicle that should not have been possible. The machine looked like a combat rover built from frostclaw bones and powered by alien minerals. Dr. Mi-young had designed it using her knowledge of alien biology, while electrical engineer Won-sik An had created the power systems that made it run. The rover's weapons were unlike anything the Velthani had seen. Instead of energy beams or projectiles, they fired a concentrated bioacid that Dr. So-hee Jung had extracted from processed frostclaw organs. The acid ate through Velthani crystal like water through paper. A group of Velthani guards tried to stop the rover with their energy weapons, but the vehicle's armor was made from compressed ice mixed with metal from their ship. The beams bounced off harmlessly while the bioacid weapons dissolved the guards where they stood. As the battle raged above ground, more humans poured out of the tunnel system. Thermal engineer Soribei led a team carrying devices that looked like flamethrowers but burned with heat so intense that they could melt the special ice walls of the arena. The Velthani had built their arena to contain and kill prisoners, not to defend against organized military assault. The humans used this against them, turning the arena's own features into weapons and defensive positions. Geologist Sang-min Oh and his mining team had found something even more valuable than explosive minerals in the deep caves. They had discovered the arena's main structural supports, and they had spent 2 days placing charges at every critical point. The whole arena is built on artificial supports, Sang-min explained to Major Kyung-soo, as explosions rocked the building around them. If we take out the right pillars, the entire structure will collapse. Including the observation towers where the aliens are watching? The Major asked while firing his improvised weapon at a group of Velthani reinforcements. Especially the observation towers, Sang-min replied with a grim smile. The turning point came when tracker Yoon-ji Lim and explosive specialist Min-ho Yu completed their most dangerous mission. They had climbed through maintenance shafts to reach the arena's central power core, carrying enough processed mineral explosives to destroy a city block. The power core was a massive crystal that pulsed with energy, surrounded by Velthani technicians, who were trying to regain control of their systems. The technicians were not soldiers. When they saw 2 humans with weapons and explosives, they ran. "Are you sure this will not kill us too?" Min-ho asked as he wired the charges to the crystal. "Probably not," Yoon-ji replied, "but it will definitely kill them." High Crystallarch Vethamos realized too late what the humans had accomplished. These creatures had not just survived in his arena, they had studied it, mapped it, and turned it into a weapon against its creators. "Evacuate all observation platforms," he ordered frantically. "Seal the arena and flood it with poison gas." But Taeho Choi had taken control of the arena's communication systems. Instead of following Vethamos' orders, the automated systems began broadcasting something that shocked every Velthani in the complex. It was a message from the humans, transmitted across all Velthani communication networks and beyond, reaching every world in their empire. Ambassador Dong-woo Kim's voice, cold and angry in a way that would have been impossible for his diplomatic friends on Earth to recognize, spoke directly to the Velthani Empire. "You brought us here to watch us die for your entertainment. You thought we were weak because we are different from you. You thought we would break because we are not adapted to your world." As he spoke, the cameras showed the battle raging in the arena. Humans with improvised weapons were systematically destroying Velthani technology and killing Velthani soldiers. The crystal beings who had ruled the galaxy for millennia were running in terror from creatures they had considered barely intelligent. Dr. Mi-young Lee's combat rover smashed through another crystal wall, while its bioacid weapons dissolved Velthani. Defenders, Major Kyung-soo Han led a charge against energy weapon positions with nothing but determination and human-made explosives. "But you made a mistake," Dong-woo continued as the battle raged behind him. "You confused being civilized with being harmless. You thought that because we choose peace we are incapable of war." The broadcast showed thermal engineer Soribei melting through the arena's main gate with her improvised flame weapons. It showed former Special Forces operative Yuna Nam leading a team of scientists and diplomats in coordinated military tactics that would have impressed professional soldiers. "We are humans," the ambassador said as explosions lit up the arena behind him. "We do not just adapt to survive, we adapt to win. And you have just learned why every predator on our world learned to fear us long before we learned to build starships." Across the Velthani Empire, millions of crystalline beings watched in shocked silence as the creatures they had dismissed as entertainment proved themselves to be apex predators from a world that had taught them to be killers. The final sequence of the broadcast showed Sang-Min-Oh triggering his structural charges. The arena walls began to crack and fall as the support pillars collapsed one by one. The observation towers, full of Velthani elite who had come to watch humans die for sport, began to tilt and crash toward the ground. Crystalline beings who had lived for centuries fell screaming to their deaths as their platforms collapsed. The sound they made was like an entire orchestra of crystal instruments being smashed at once. This message is being sent to every world in your empire, Dongwu concluded as chaos erupted around him. Remember it well. Remember that humans are not prey. We are predators who choose to be civilized. Mock us at your peril. As the broadcast ended, the arena collapsed in a series of explosions that could be seen from orbit. The pride of Velthani civilization, their arena that had entertained them for 1,000 years, became a pile of burning rubble mixed with alien blood. But the humans were not finished. They had won the battle, but they still needed to win From the tunnels beneath the ruined arena, 123 human survivors gathered around their leaders. They had lost people in the battle, but they had won something more important than their own lives. They had won respect through violence and fear. Captain Hajian Park studied the maps that Taeho had created of the Velthani complex. The spaceport is 2 kilometers north of here. If we can reach it, we can take ships and get home. Getting to the spaceport will be dangerous, Major Kyung-soo warned. The entire planet will be mobilized against us now. They know we are not helpless prisoners anymore. Dr. Jin Woo Kang checked his remaining explosive compounds and smiled coldly. Good. I was starting to get bored with just defending ourselves. The other humans laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. It was the laughter of predators who had been pushed too far and had decided to push back. As they prepared to leave their underground refuge, the humans looked nothing like the diplomatic mission that had arrived on Velthara Prime. They looked like what they had become, warriors who had been forged in alien blood and tempered by their own determination to survive. They had destroyed the arena, killed hundreds of their captors, and broadcast their defiance across an entire galactic empire. But that, Day 6 brought winter to the entire planet of Velthara Prime. Not the natural cold that the world had always known, but something artificial and deadly. High Crystallarch Vethamos had ordered every climate control system on the planet set to maximum, creating a killing frost that dropped temperatures to minus 80 degrees Celsius. The surviving humans huddled in the deep caves beneath the destroyed arena, but even there the cold was trying to kill them. Their improvised heating systems, built by engineer Sori Bei from salvaged equipment and alien power sources, struggled to keep them alive. They chose to make us their prey, he said finally. They chose to hunt us for sport. They chose to broadcast our suffering across their empire for entertainment. Every choice that brought us to this moment was theirs, not ours. Captain Hajian Park nodded grimly. And they chose to do this to other species before us. How many civilizations have they destroyed? How many people died in that arena before we got there? Dr. Mi Young Lee provided the answer from her translation of the cave writings. At least 47 different species over the past 1,000 years. Entire civilizations wiped out for the amusement of Velthani nobility. The decision was made, not in anger but in cold calculation. The humans would give the Velthani one chance to let them leave peacefully. If that offer was rejected, they would ensure that no other species would ever suffer in the arena of eternal winter again. As the artificial night fell over Velthara Prime, the human survivors prepared for their final gambit. Biochemist Hyo Jin Ryu distributed her antifreeze injections to everyone who would be going to the surface. The liquid burned like fire as it entered their bloodstream, but within minutes, they could feel their bodies adapting to resist the killing cold. Structural. Engineer Jae Sung-ko made final adjustments to the charges he had placed throughout the underground cave system. If their escape failed, the explosions would bring down half the mountain and bury the human story where no Velthani could ever find it. Communications. Expert Tai-Ho Choi opened a channel to the Velthani government using their own communication networks What he broadcast to the alien leadership was not a plea for mercy or a desperate negotiation. It was an ultimatum. Ambassador Dongwoo Kim's voice, speaking perfect Velthani, reached every government facility on the planet. "This is Ambassador Kim of Earth, speaking for the human survivors of your arena. We are going to leave this world now. You can either allow us to take ships from your spaceport and depart peacefully, or you can try to stop us." He paused, letting the weight of his next words settle over the alien listeners. "If you choose to fight us, you will learn why 47 civilizations were not enough to prepare you for what humans become when you take everything from us." High Crystallarch Vethimos responded with the arrogance that had defined Velthani, civilization for millennia. "You are prisoners and specimens, not negotiators. Return to your designated containment area immediately, or face immediate extermination." Ambassador Dongwoo smiled, though there was no humor in the expression. "Thank you for making our choice easier." He nodded to Dr. Jin-Woo Kang, who activated the first phase of their escape plan. The explosion that followed lit up the night sky of Velthara Prime, like a second sun. The carefully placed charges in the mountain's geological weak points triggered exactly the seismic reaction that Jin-Woo had predicted. The shockwaves raced through the planet's crust, toppling Velthani cities and shattering their crystal palaces. But that was only the beginning. As buildings collapsed around them and the ground shook beneath their feet, 123 human beings emerged from the caves beneath the destroyed arena. They moved through the chaos with weapons in their hands and determination in their hearts. They were no longer diplomats or scientists or engineers. They were warriors who had been forged in the crucible of alien cruelty and tempered by their own will to survive. The Velthani Empire was about to face something it had never encountered before: humans who had nothing left to lose and everything to prove. The real battle was about to begin. "They are trying to freeze us out," Captain Hae-Jin Park observed as she watched ice form on the cave walls. "They know we cannot survive in this cold without shelter." Major Kyung-Soo Han checked their supplies of food and water. Both were running dangerously low. "We have maybe 12 hours before we have to move, cold or no cold." But the humans had learned something important during their time in the arena. They had learned to turn every disadvantage into a weapon. Biochemist Hyojin Ryu had spent the past 2 days working with organic compounds extracted from dead frostclaws. The breakthrough came when she realized that the creature's natural antifreeze could be modified for human use. "I can make injections that will let us survive in the extreme cold for short periods," she explained to Dr. So-hee Jung. "But the effects are temporary, and I do not know what the long-term consequences might be." "Will it keep us alive long enough to reach the spaceport?" asked Ambassador Dongwoo Kim. "It should," Hyojin replied, "but we will only get one chance. Once the compound wears off, our bodies will not be able to handle another dose." While the biochemist worked on their survival drug, structural engineer Jae-Sung Ko had made a discovery that changed their entire escape plan. Using equipment salvaged from the arena's control systems, he had mapped the Velthani complex and found its greatest weakness. The spaceport is built on the same unstable foundation as the arena was, he reported to the leadership team. The Velthani love to build impressive structures, but they do not always pay attention to engineering fundamentals. Communications. Expert Tai-Ho Choi had been working on an even more ambitious project. He had not only maintained their hack into the Velthani communication systems, he had expanded it to include their planetary defense networks. "I can give us a window," he promised. 30 minutes where their automated defenses will not fire on anything leaving the planet. But I can only do it once, and we have to be ready to move the moment it starts. The most important discovery came from an unexpected source. Ambassador Dongwoo Kim, working with Dr. Mi-Young Lee, had been studying the alien writings they had found in the caves. What they learned changed everything. The previous prisoners were not just random species, Dongwoo explained to the group. They were representatives from other civilizations that the Velthani had contacted. The arena is not just entertainment. It is how they eliminate potential rivals before they become threats. Dr. Mi-Young added to the terrible revelation. Every species that has ever challenged Velthani dominance has ended up in that arena, and every species has died there, until now. As the sixth day wore on, the humans prepared for what they knew would be their final battle. They had lost 57 people since the fighting began, but those who remained had been hardened into something the galaxy had never seen before. The Velthani made their next mistake when they sent down search teams to find the human survivors. They expected to discover frozen corpses or perhaps a few desperate creatures begging for mercy. Instead, they found an ambush. The attack was led by former Special Forces operative Yoon Ah-nam, who had spent 2 days studying Velthani combat tactics. From their security footage, she knew how they moved, how they thought, and most importantly, how they could be killed. The Velthani search team never had a chance. Human weapons, improved by Dr. Jinwoo Kang's latest explosive compounds, cut through their crystal armor like it was made of glass. The aliens who had never known defeat found themselves outfought by creatures they had considered barely intelligent. But the real shock came when the humans did not just kill the search team. They captured 3 Velthani alive and brought them back to the caves for questioning. Ambassador Dongwoo Kim, the diplomat who had once dreamed of peaceful contact between species, looked down at the captured aliens with eyes that showed no mercy. "You brought us here to die for sport," he said in the Velthani language which Dr. Mi-young had taught him during their captivity. "Now you are going to help us leave this world alive, or you will discover what it feels like to be the entertainment." The captured Velthani, creatures who had lived for centuries without fear, found themselves terrified of the small, soft beings from the distant blue world. High Crystallarch Vethamos received the news of his lost search team with growing panic. The humans were not just surviving impossible conditions, they were thriving in them. More disturbing, they were learning Velthani technology and tactics faster than should have been possible. "Release the atmospheric toxins," he ordered desperately. "Flood the entire area with poison gas. I do not care if we damage the archaeological sites." But Tai-Ho Choi was monitoring all Velthani communications. The moment the gas release was ordered, he triggered a program he had been preparing for days. Every environmental system in the Velthani complex reversed itself, sucking the poison gas away from the human position and pumping it directly into the administrative centers where the alien leadership was located. For the first time in their history, the Velthani rulers found themselves choking on their own weapons. The final preparation came when Dr. Jinwoo Kang completed his masterwork. Using minerals from the deep caves and technology salvaged from the destroyed arena, he had created something that made their previous weapons look like toys. It is not just an explosive, he. The final battle began at dawn on the 7th day, as the twin suns of Velthara Prime rose over a world in chaos. The seismic weapons that Dr. Jinwoo Kang had triggered had done more than destroy buildings. They had shattered the Velthani's sense of invincibility forever. 123 humans moved across the frozen wasteland toward the spaceport, leaving a trail of bodies in the pristine white snow. They no longer looked like the diplomatic mission that had arrived 6 days earlier. They looked like death itself walking across an alien world. Captain Haejin Park led the advance team, her weapon cutting down Velthani defenders who tried to block their path. Behind her, Major Kyung-Soo Han coordinated the attack with tactical precision that would have impressed generals on Earth. "The spaceport is 2 kilometers ahead," reported tracker Yoon-ji Lim as she returned from a scouting mission. "Heavy defenses, but most of their automated systems are down thanks to Tai-Ho's sabotage." Communications expert Tai-Ho Choi had spent the entire night working his way through Velthani computer networks. By dawn, he had control of everything from traffic systems to military communications. The aliens found their own technology turned against them at every step. The first major resistance came at the outer perimeter of the spaceport. A force of Velthani elite guards, equipped with the most advanced weapons their civilization possessed, waited behind crystal barriers that were supposed to be impenetrable. They lasted exactly 4 minutes against the human assault. Dr. Jinwoo Kang's latest explosive compounds ate through the crystal barriers like acid through paper. Former Special Forces operative Yoon Ah-nam led the attack with weapons that engineer Bo-Ram Shin had crafted from alien technology and human determination. But The most terrifying sight for the Velthani defenders was Ambassador Dongwoo Kim himself. The elderly diplomat who had come to their world seeking peace now moved through the battle with a captured alien weapon in his hands and ice-cold fury in his eyes. "This is for every species that died in your arena," he said as he cut down a Velthani officer who had tried to surrender. "This is for every civilization you destroyed for your entertainment." The breakthrough came when structural engineer Jae Sung-ko located the spaceport's main control tower. The building was a masterpiece of Velthani architecture, a crystal spire that rose 300 meters into the sky and was supposed to be unbreachable. It took the humans less than an hour to bring it down, using explosives and weapons that combined human engineering with alien technology. They systematically destroyed the tower's support structures. As the massive building collapsed, it took with it the command center that controlled all spaceport operations. High Crystallarch Vethimos watched the destruction from his emergency bunker deep beneath the capital city. The reports coming in from across the planet were impossible to believe. A handful of primitive aliens were systematically dismantling the greatest civilization in the galaxy. "Send everything we have," he ordered desperately. "Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. These creatures must not be allowed to leave our world alive." But communications expert Tai-Ho Choi was listening to every Velthani transmission. The moment Vethimos gave his orders, Tai-Ho activated the final phase of their escape plan. The orbital defense platforms that protected Velthara Prime from invasion suddenly turned their weapons toward the planet's surface. Massive energy beams, designed to destroy invasion fleets, began striking Velthani military bases and government facilities. "How are they doing this?" Vethimos screamed at his technicians. "Those systems are completely isolated from our planetary networks." His chief engineer, a Velthani named Kethros, studied the impossible readings on his instruments. "They are not accessing our networks from outside, my lord. They have someone inside the orbital stations themselves." The truth was even more disturbing than that. During their time in the arena, Dr. Mi-Young Lee had made a discovery that no one had expected. The Velthani were not the original builders of their technology. They had inherited it from an even older civilization that they had conquered millennia ago. That ancient technology still recognized the command codes that Mi-Young had found carved in the cave walls beneath the arena. The previous prisoners had not just left behind maps and warnings. They had left behind the keys to the entire Velthani Empire. As orbital weapons rained down on Velthani cities, the human survivors fought their way into the spaceport itself. What they found there confirmed their worst fears about their captors and their best hopes for escape. The facility contained hundreds of ships from dozens of different civilizations. Every vessel told the same story: diplomatic missions that had come to Velthara Prime seeking peaceful contact and had never returned home. All of these species ended up in the arena, Dr. Mi-Young observed as she studied the alien vessels. "The Velthani have been doing this for thousands of years." Ambassador Dongwoo Kim found what he was looking for in the central hangar: the Soul's Pride. Their ship had been repaired and refitted with Velthani technology, probably as a trophy for the aliens to display after the humans were dead. "Can we fly it?" he asked engineer Boram Shin. "Better than before," she replied after a quick inspection. "They have upgraded the engines and navigation systems. This ship can reach Earth faster than we ever dreamed possible." The final confrontation came as the humans prepared to board their vessel. High Crystallarch Vethimos arrived at the spaceport with his personal guard, determined to stop the humans from escaping and revealing Velthani crimes to the galaxy. The alien leader was magnificent in his crystal armor, glowing with internal light and carrying weapons that could level city blocks. He had lived for over 2,000 years and had never known defeat. He lasted less than 30 seconds against Major Kyung-Soo Han. The human officer, armed with nothing but a weapon crafted from ship parts and alien minerals, cut through the High Crystallarch's defenses with tactical skill that left the other Velthani stunned. When the fight was over, the most powerful being on Velthara Prime lay shattered on the spaceport floor. "This is for everyone who died in your arena," Major Kyung-Soo said as he stood over the broken alien leader. "This is for every species you murdered for sport." As the Soul's Pride lifted off from Velthara Prime, its cargo hold contained more than just human survivors. The ship carried documentation of Velthani crimes, recordings of the arena broadcasts, and most importantly, the command codes for Velthani technology that Dr. Mi Young had discovered. Behind them, the planet burned. The seismic weapons had triggered volcanic activity across 3 continents. The orbital strikes had destroyed the major cities. The pristine white world that the Velthani had called home was now painted in shades of red and black. But the most important change was not visible from space. The arena that had entertained Velthani nobility for 1,000 years was gone forever. The mountain that had contained it was now a crater filled with molten rock. Never again would any species be brought to Velthara Prime to die for alien amusement. As they traveled through hyperspace toward Earth, the surviving humans tried to come to terms with what they had become. They had arrived as diplomats and scientists seeking peaceful contact. They were returning as warriors who had brought down a galactic empire. Ambassador Dongwoo Kim stood in the ship's observation deck, watching the stars stream past outside. Captain Hae-Jin Park found him there as they prepared to drop out of hyperspace near Earth. "Do you think they will understand on Earth?" she asked. "Do you think they will believe what we had to do?" Dongwoo was quiet for a long moment before answering. "I think they will understand that we had no choice. The Velthani made us into what we became. And what are we now?" Hae-Jin asked. The ambassador looked at his reflection in the observation window. The man looking back at him was not the peaceful diplomat who had left Earth months ago. This was someone harder, colder, and infinitely more dangerous. "We are humans who have learned what we are capable of when pushed too far," he replied. "And the galaxy is about to learn that lesson too." The soul's pride emerged from hyperspace, within sight of Earth, carrying 47 survivors of humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. They brought with them technology beyond Earth's wildest dreams, knowledge of galactic politics that would change everything, and a message that would echo across the stars. The message was carved into the hull of their ship in letters that could be read from orbit, written in dozens of alien languages for the entire galaxy to see. "Here return the humans of Earth. We went seeking friends and found predators. We were hunted for sport and became hunters ourselves. Let all civilizations know. We are not prey, we are not victims. We are humans, and we do not forgive those who mistake our mercy for weakness." The age of humanity in the galaxy had begun, and it would be an age built not on the bones of the weak, but on the shattered crystals of those who had thought humans could be easily broken. The snow on Velthara Prime would remain red for 1,000 years, a monument to the moment when Earth's children taught the galaxy that some species should never be underestimated. And in the deep cold of space, other civilizations that had watched the Velthani broadcast began to reconsider their assumptions about the small, soft creatures from the blue world in the outer rim. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage not as